Hello, traders. Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, November 10th, 2024. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices' strength last week, closing at all-time highs, just below the 6,000 call wall. This leaves us with the S&P 500 up 36.8% year over year, with a 52-week high at 6,012.45. With all of the New York FANG index stocks closing higher, the index itself up nearly 6%, with 17 bullish indicators, 2 neutral and 1 bearish to start the week. There you go. The S&P 500 closed at all-time highs on above-average volume from Wednesday on after the election into the Fed rate cut, with momentum indicators bullish to start the week, RSI at highs, along with the Qs and IWM, with the latter headed towards the 240 level, RSI embedded showing muscle, with the New York Stock Exchange 2,000 stocks moving higher. MACD and stochastics are bullish to start the week, above average volume Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with RSI headed towards 70. VIX headed lower this week after the results from the election and the Fed rate cut of 25 basis points, sending the VIX down below 15 for the first time since July. Breadth is showing bullish follow-through potential well off of the 30% level, so we're not overbought. We're above zero. S&P 500 looks very strong. Mid caps and small caps turning back up on Friday, while the Nasdaq continues to fade. So we'd like to see the S&P continue, while the Nasdaq did pull back, giving us an indication that we're not overbought and that many of the stocks from the New York FANG index could continue higher this week into NVIDIA earnings on the 20th of November. Interesting to note that the S&P 500 and other indices closed at highs, while the FANGs did manage to pull back a little bit. That's giving us a little bit more possibility that these aren't overbought yet, and we could see a follow-through this week, as all momentum indicators are bullish and rising. In addition, the S&P 500 weekly chart shows the first week up after a 2-week pause at highs, and with an average 2 to 3 weeks, follow-through is possible. So we'll be looking for confirmation as we start trading on Monday. Finally, we have junk bonds pushing a bit higher as well, back above all of the moving averages with RSI rising. So we'll be looking for these 17 bullish indicators for the week to help us confirm direction as we start trading on Monday. The 10-year yield faded with bonds moving in the opposite direction. We had TLT bounce back to the 200-day moving average as a result, looking for a push back to the 50-day overhead with RSI rising. At the same time, the US dollar did manage to hold above 104. After Thursday's drop, we're pushing back up on Friday. Therefore, with the strength in the dollar, it takes fewer dollars to buy the same amount of gold. That continues its fade for the past 7 trading days, along with silver and copper. At the same time, crude oil products and gasoline managed to stay right around the 50-day moving average, been in a sideways range in the lower half of that range over the last few weeks, with spot gasoline prices back to $2 a gallon. Finally, we have commodities pulling back. This is bullish for U.S. equities. We want to see commodities fade a bit more, maybe get back down below the 50-day moving average, that green line at 22.38. Overall, bonds, commodities, and currencies are bullish for equities to start the week. Sectors are all bullish, with noteworthy strength showing up in the biotechs last week, IBB and XBI, with notable strength in XLY, the consumer discretionary sector. If you're bullish equities, you want to see consumer discretionary outperforming consumer staples, with the latter outperforming XLY outperforming XLP. The lines are moving higher. Looks nothing like the bear market start in 2022. So we're bullish sectors, and including the small cap sectors, which all 9 were closing higher to finish the week. Starting off this week, we have a lot of stocks from the IBD 50, including stocks from the scans that we ran this weekend. Check out some of these names. There's so many of them, we can't cover them all. We'll just look at a few. With ADMA Biologics, along with the biotechs moving higher last week. Reported earnings in line with expectations. You can see that earnings growth is 1,400%, with revenue growth at 78.1%. With the stock breaking above its 50-day moving average last week into earnings, RSI's rising, volume increasing, stochastics and MACD rising. Overall, the stock looking very bullish, with earnings supporting a follow-through. American Superconductor following through, nice breakout to new 52-week highs on above-average volume. MACD and stochastics are bullish. Many of you taking Reddit for a ride over the last few weeks. This continues to move higher along with Robinhood, with the latter closing at the highs of the day on Friday. Volume above average. Looks like institutions are picking up Robinhood. RSI rising with a bullish bias to start the week. Many of you trading Hims and Hers. That one continues to move higher, trying to break out above 26. With strength noted in the security stocks last week, Fortinet, CrowdStrike, Zscaler, Palo Alto Networks. Fortinet with Bollinger Bands expanding rapidly, looking for a follow-through this week. Starting off with a bullish bias on Monday. MACD, stochastics, and volume indicate institutions are active. In different sectors like the travel and leisure group, many of those stocks continued higher, with Booking.com and Expedia making new highs. Royal Caribbean, we also have the airlines showing strength, in addition to the cruise lines, with all of them showing a bullish bias to start the week. Many of the industrials also pushed higher. Caterpillar did pull back last week. We're looking for a bounce in Caterpillar. 3M back above the 50-day moving average, with the industrial sector showing strength. Looking for a follow-through. MACD and stochastics rising above average volume. The trucking industry index also potentially higher this week. Many of the transportation stocks look strong, like Old Dominion Freight and C.H. Robertson, among others. While consumer discretionary stocks got an added boost thanks to Tesla's earnings and follow-through up nearly 30% last week, along with Amazon, the two of them making up more than 50% of the weight of the XLY consumer discretionary sector, which we said that we need to see this following through. You want to see XLY outperforming XLP, consumer discretionary outperforming consumer staples. If you're bullish equities, we have that condition and continue to look forward to it into year end. That said, we do have some consumer staples stocks following through, like Costco making new highs last week, looking for 1,000 on Costco, in addition to TJ Maxx, looking for a 52-week high in the weeks to come. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, November 10th, 2024. Note that the stocks we just reviewed are from various sectors. The point there is that many sectors are bullish. It's only consumer staples which have pulled back a little bit. Healthcare, utilities, usually defensive, also looked pretty good last week. But the majority of sectors on the S&P 500 were higher, in addition to what we saw on small caps. All 9 small cap sectors were above their 10 EMA and looking very bullish into this week. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend, take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.